Okay, so the idea now is that we have our kind of content. We just want to change the appearance of the words, and this is this is a real common kind of element of design, and it's you're probably familiar with it if you use these kind of prefabricated styles, where you're just changing the visual appearance of the lettering to kind of connote its purpose um, and its kind of privilege in a way, where the title is bold and big because it's kind of considered to be like relatively important. Like you got to nail the title for people to really want to read your work like a hook. And so there's basically a visual hierarchy that you develop um, within a typeface. And so that's something that our map kind of currently lacks. We don't have any visual hierarchy here, and it makes reading this kind of difficult because you don't and kind of boring. So let's fix that. I'm going to go over here and go to type taxonomy, copy it, and uh, and then cruise over to here. And then this is going to be another kind of nonlinear thing that we actually want to create styles that we're then going to impose on these labels. So we actually want to stick this up here. And we're going to define the type taxonomy now. And I'm going to kind of break this down into we want to create a dictionary of our typeface, which is just kind of common styles for all of the labels. And then we're going to create a dictionary for the visual hierarchy within a typeface. So the typeface here is kind of Garamond for that I'm using. This is I have a custom thing. So your Google Docs probably looks different, but the only thing that breaks from that typeface is the subtitle that this is serifed and this is sans serif or sans serif, depends on who you talk to, but it doesn't have little feet. Serifed means it has little feet. And uh, yeah, so we want to start by kind of identifying things that are common to that are going to be common to um, all of our letters that appear on this map. So let's kind of get into it. It's just going to be a dictionary that we're going to make, and uh, and the first thing, and this is a totally custom dictionary. Like we're not following anything here. We're just going to create our own little custom dictionary that's going to define things that we want to be consistent. So that basically we want to make sure that things kind of line up here. And so I'm going to say that, well, I'm going to go and define what our sans or sans typeface is going to be. And I'm going to use Helvetica, and then sans serif is the term for this. And again, I'm going back uh, to Hello Widget and this CSS fonts page, and basically grabbing this Helvetica sans serif as my typeface. And then for padding, I'm going to say let's have all these labels appear with a 12-point padding, and we can change that later if we want. For margin, I'm going to say let's push all these things 4 pixels away from the edge of the panel. For text align, I just am going to say let's make sure that this is all aligned left and ragged right. For position, um, I'm going to say let's make sure that these are all kind of positioned beginning in the top left and going down. For white space, I'm going to say, well, with few exceptions, I want these all to be wrapped, and I'll have that. For background color, um, and here's where I think that in a way, because so much of our image here is black, it might be nice to actually have this also be black rather than a white, because I feel like this is a pretty heavy contrast. If I was working with with an image that wasn't so black, I probably wouldn't make this black. I tend to want to kind of reduce the contrast and the difference between the side panel and this. So if this was a whiter or lighter, I'd probably be happy with white there. But given that's black, I'm going to say let's make our background color black in this case. And this could be something that we could change. And then for color, in the sense of what color do you want all of your um, letters to be, if we're not going to have, if it's no longer going to, we can't have black on black, right? We need to be able to, I mean, you could if you're kind of grungy, but I think we're going to be, yeah, we need to be able to read this stuff. So we could just say white here. I tend to, for whatever reason, I tend to go with like a little bit of a light yellow. I like a little bit of an off white when I'm working with black um, as the background. And it's personal preference, but I'm just gonna kind of let you. I tend to do that. And light yellow again. That word comes from here, where I kind of use this as a cheat sheet for let's use this light yellow rather than a pure white for our. So if I copy that, and maybe it would be good to uh, to have that. I think it could handle it even if it was lowercase l. Anyway, so these are going to be all of the properties that are going to be defined for all of the labels. And now I needed to create a dictionary to kind of distinguish different types of labels here. And so now we're getting into, we've defined kind of the typeface that, like in this case, all the things are, the colors are black, the backgrounds are white, they're all Garamond, like they've done kind of something very similar to what we're doing. But now what we want to do is to say that the title is bigger and bolder than this, and we need to start creating these kind of categories. So this is going to be, again, a very custom dictionary. I'm going to say, all right, this hierarchy is going to be a dictionary. And the dictionary is actually going to contain a set of dictionaries. So I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to make a title dictionary. And at this point, I'm going back and thinking about all of these styles that something could have, and I need to start defining them. So here's the idea. I'm going to say, all right, for padding, I want this to be um, uh, typeface padding. And so I'm saying for padding, use whatever we've defined here. And you may be like, well, why don't we just type in 12 here? And I think it'll make sense in a moment. We're going to define a style for title, one for body, one for, we're going to define a few of these. And so if it's helpful just to refer back here, because if we changed our mind, we just need to change it once rather than each individual one. Does that make sense? That's kind of what I'm going for here. So similarly, the margin is going to be the typeface margin. And the background color is going to be the typeface background color. Is that all right? This may seem like, this seems really redundant, but I think there'll be a reason for this. So color, we could say let's just try this to start with, where we're going to say that's for the color. And just to kind of maybe depreciate it, because you're probably thinking like, wow, this is really kind of a bit of a pain. Let's go ahead and say that the style is going to be equal to the hierarchy style. Nope, sorry, the hierarchy title, right? So I'm saying for style here, use the hierarchy dot title style dictionary. And so we should start seeing it there. Is that fair? Um, and so maybe it's helpful to be able to kind of see the results here a little bit faster than just kind of typing it through. And so cool. And then we're going to say that the font size is going to be, and I'm going to go with something pretty big, 32 pixels. So there's my font size. And but font weight, I'm going to say go bold. Uh-huh. And then the font family, I'm going to say is typeface sans, right? Because I'm going to refer to that. And then I'm going to say, what else am I going to say? The text align is going to be typeface text align, and that shouldn't make too much of a difference there. The position, this may not be critical, but I'm just going to be for consistency since we defined it up there. And basically, if we wanted to change our mind, we could just, it makes it a little bit easier to change your mind later. So that's position, white space, and we're going to make this one white space, and then stretch. So if I say run, and then the last one here is we actually want to do the stretch, and if we make that horizontal, then I think that this will get stretched across, the box gets stretched across the panel. Is that fair? So that's cool. We've just kind of affected the look there, and I'm now going to kind of cheat a little bit by copying all of this. So from that curly bracket to the title, I'm going to put a comma here, and then I'm going to paste this in. And what I want to do here is say that I now want to change the body of this. And so I've created these parameters, some of which are inherited from the typeface and some of which are distinct for the title. And I kind of want to go through and say, well, I don't want my, and the idea is that what I'm going to try to do is affect this one. So my style here is going to be hierarchy body. And if I hit run, then I don't want that, right? So I want it to be smaller, and I'm going to say 14 is sometimes a comfortable read. I don't need it to be bold. I can have it just be normal. And stretched is fine, because that box now covers that whole thing. So similarly, I can go in and I think I'm just gonna make this a little cleaner and add some spaces here so that it's a little bit easier to read. And then I'm gonna put a comma here, and let's think for a second. I want yeah, that's good. And then I want to basically make this, and this smaller. I consider this kind of stuff more like notes there if you want it, but not as critical. So I'm going to say a note is going to be only 10 pixels, and so I'm going to copy the style thing and go down for my credits. I want that to be basically a note. And for my source, I want that to be a note. And that looks pretty good. And so now, if I go back up here and click run, we're getting there. I've got that there. I'm saying the font weight is, let's go to the fonts. And normal is fine. I'll just keep it normal, and I think that's pretty legible. But it's small. And the only thing I really want to change here is I want this to be stacked. So for my white space, I'm gonna break from the typeface and just type pre, and that's gonna allow my these line breaks that I asked. That's going to allow me to control the line breaks in a way that this just wraps the sentence. And so then I need my link to description patterns. I need that to be on the black as well. And so that just means that I want that also to be body for my story link. Um, and so I'm going to copy this, go to my story link, paste it in there, run it, and cool. And there's a gap there because my instructions I haven't filled out yet. So let me just throw that in. And now that's that placeholder I have for my instructions. And the only other thing is that I've kind of created this noise in the sense that there are these spaces in between. And the negative space down here is, uh, is this looks kind of clunky. So I actually want my panel background color to also be black. So if I go to my side panel and I say, please make the background color black and run that, that now fills that in. And so this is looking kind of cleaner. The only other thing is that sometimes it's nice to offset the title a little bit differently, not just in size and in weight, but in color. So I might go in here and say, actually, for my color, let's do something. I grew up in Princeton, so let's do orange, and it'll come in like that. And I sometimes like offsetting the color of the title. But this is looking like a little bit cleaner. I don't think you can do much about the color of this bar, so it's a little strong in the contrast, but still, it's kind of a fun way of customizing your app so that this doesn't quite seem, I don't know, you're not distracted by the shape of this thing quite so much, even though this is a little loud. Okay, so I'm going to save. That was a long video, but the idea is that once you kind of set up your typeface and your hierarchy, you just kind of reuse these. So you don't have to do this every single time. That's one of the reasons that apps can often kind of look look alike if from a single author, because it's a pain to kind of set this all up. So it's nice to do something once, get comfortable with it, figure out how to make little adjustments, and recycle rather than always creating from new.